All right, sounds good. Okay, give me just a little bit, guys. I'm going live on Blog Talk. Last couple of weeks, we've had some technical difficulties, so I'm starting us a tad early. So here in a second, Blog Talk's going to kick in with my intro. So bear with us as this starts up. So I tagged some people, so we'll see.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right.
Blog Talk Radio.
The truth is out there. Knowledge is power. This is the Prepper Podcast Radio Network.
All right, welcome back to another Monday evening and another edition of the Eagle's Nest. I am Sherman Tank. We're going to be covering a few things tonight that kind of covers. We do this a lot. We cover the political divide. What I think we could do differently to try and bring people together. But tonight's show is going to be a little different. We're going to kind of cover some of the things that I think is stemming from some of the divide that we have, and maybe some possible things that we can do to fix it. I'm not sure if it's ever going to be fixable, but it's some things definitely we can do to at least remedy things, at least on the high-end political part of it. So, tonight we're going to kind of go through some of those things. I do want to real quick throw a shout out to a couple people that are out in the North Carolina and that whole region with the hurricane and everything that happened out there. I had a friend of mine reach out to me earlier last week and ask for a call out to see if he could get some people, and we were able to find some people out there for him. So I appreciate Ace Baker stepping up and doing that, going out there, taking like 10 guys out there to North Carolina, jumping in boats and going out and doing rescues, things like that. That right there shows exactly how patriotic people are. And even with the political divide, it shows that we do care for our other citizens and our other people of this nation, this country. Events like that bring us together. So my hat's off to Ace for taking the time out to drive all the way out there and do that. And the guy that actually made the call out is oh my Lord, I cannot believe I'm going to forget his name. Oh Lord, hold on one second. I'll be able to tell you. I'm terrible with names and terrible with remembering certain things. So give me 1 second here. But he runs a group called HARP, and it was just very cool to see him put a call out. And he was looking for certain types of people, and it ended up working out very well to where we were able to get him some help out there. And they've been able to do some very good work. I've seen the pictures and a lot of the people that they've helped save. A lot of animals were saved, dogs, cats, even farm animals. I know that's one of the things that people have a tendency to forget when there's a big disaster out there, is the animals that live in the same properties that the humans do. And a lot of times it's not even by on purpose. It's a necessity to get out. The problem is a lot of people don't plan ahead, and then they end up getting kind of screwed, and they get stuck doing what some of these people did. But it sucks that that's the case. And let's see here, Burke Bryant. I want to put a huge shout out to Burke. He reached out to me and asked me to put a call out, so we did. And within, I'd say 12 hours, we had enough people for him. He originally wanted 4 to 6 guys. We ended up finding at least 10 and some people out in that area. So again, thanks for everybody who stepped up, went out there, busted your butt, helped Americans, and just showed your patriotic side by doing that. So thanks again, guys, for going out there and doing that and helping people you don't know. Okay, so with that said, everybody knows right now what's going on with the Brett Kavanagh case or the Supreme Court nomination. It looks like they're probably going to go ahead with the confirmation process. It looks like they're going to probably try and confirm him on Monday. But before that, this accuser that came out has come out and basically stated that he did X amount of things. He did something in a room. Supposedly there was a witness. The witness says no, he wasn't there. So, it's going to end up being a he said, she said thing. It's a little different than the Clarence Thomas thing, mainly because, Clarence Thomas is very well liked. Obviously, the Democrats don't like Kavanagh because that further pushes Trump's agenda down the line, and they're going to fight tooth and nail to go against everything that he wants to do. So with that said, all we can do is kind of hope and pray. The one thing that we have some watchdogs groups in the country. We have Judicial Watch. They do a pretty good job digging up dirt, getting answers and stuff like that, filing different complaints and stuff like that to a lot of the like Congress and the entities that can kind of control that information. The problem with it is, even though that, they can sue to get that, it still takes a lot of time. And whenever you're dealing with, time, a lot of things can happen between the time that you file a grievance or you file a lawsuit until the time you actually get it, or until the judge actually sees it and puts it through. I stated earlier today in a post that I put on Facebook, I think that the reason that the Democrats are doing what they're doing, and I spoke to a couple friends this weekend about this, and we all kind of agreed, is that there's no bite left in our bark. We say we're going to do this, we say we're going to do this, we say we're going to do this. Well, it used to be the Democrats were kind of scared of what, the gun owners, the Second Amendment activists and stuff, they were scared of what we would do. The problem is we never follow through on any of that stuff. Yeah, we do the lawsuits. We do things right, and we do things the legal way. And that's the way we should do things. The problem is that bite that we portray that we have isn't there. And so they're going to continue to push everything down the line. They're going against every kind of law and order that we have. And, we keep seeing different things, especially California and New York, Chicago. We see bills and we see laws that are coming down the pipeline that are both against the Constitution and against the rule of law. And unfortunately, we sit back and all we can do is, put lawsuits out to go out and fight these things. Well, instead of doing the lawsuits, we need to remove the people who are coming up with these stupid things from power. Literally, if you can think of it, if you can dream it, they're coming up with it. It's either we're going to have to battle them that way, or we're going to have to start doing our own laws, getting them through. Now, keep in mind, we have the House and the Senate. So there is no reason why we can't be passing the laws that these idiots are. And now that's federally, of course. Now, if you're in a red state, you can pass laws in your own state. But if you're in a blue state, such as I am, we've got no recourse to fight any of the stuff that they got because they have a super majority here. If you go to Sacramento and you see some of the crap that they do, Melissa Melendez, I'll give you an example of her. Okay, she's on our side. She's fighting for the gun laws. She's fighting everything she can tooth and nail to get certain things passed. And I went and seen a thing that she did. This had been 3-4 months ago, where she went up in front of a committee and she was pushing for CCWs and statewide. And she had a lot of support there. She had more support than she had negative. There was more people for it than there was against it. And the committee still voted it down. And it completely kills me. It basically tells me that we, the people, have lost our voice in the state of California. And I'm sure it's that way in New York, Chicago, parts of Illinois, and other cities. The problem with that is if the leaders are not going to listen to the people of their state, they're not going to listen to the people who show up for this kind of stuff, then what the hell's the point? The best way to do that would be to eliminate the people that are running the local governments. And I'm not saying we go out and we kill them, we do that kind of stuff. But we need to go out and we need to find something on them. Obviously, they can find something on somebody that's been vetted 6 times by the FBI. And he's been a judge for God knows how long, 34 years, or no, he's been there for so many years. He's been a federal judge. And all of a sudden, a woman comes out accusing him of sexual harassment or rape, actually, almost. with that said, why can't we find dirt that sticks to the Democrats, get them kicked out, get them get them undone? So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find and talk to people and maybe come up with our own version of the CIA or the FBI. Okay, we obviously know that the FBI was not looking out for the will of the people whenever they were trying to set up Donald Trump. There's so many things that are coming out right now, and it wasn't so much the lower echelon FBI; it was the upper echelon. Your and parts of the CIA with Clapper, Comey, Stroke, Page. All these people were completely against Trump, and they spoke about it in their texts. I mean, they were giddy whenever they would leak something to the news media. I mean, that's how far gone the leadership of the FBI is. And they have literally got no leg to stand on. Now, those decisions were not made by the rank and file folks in the FBI or the CIA. They were made by the leadership to set up and basically enact a coup against somebody that was duly elected by the citizens of this country. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, that's as close to treason as you can get. Not too long ago, I think it's been like last week or week before, there was a guy in Venezuela that's running basically on the same type of stuff that Trump is. He's basically Venezuela's version of Trump. And he was out in a rally and he got stabbed. I mean, it wasn't critical. He didn't get killed. But the fact of the matter is, we're lucky enough that we have the protection of the president the way that we have it. And I'm not 100% sure that, that's going to hold out his entire term. But, I mean, you see it on Twitter, you see it on Facebook. There's a lot of threads out there. And, he's sticking by his guns, and that's great. But what are we going to do if they do end up finding a way to eliminate him, or if they find a way to get him out? Now, one of the ways that they can get him out is by the Senate. If they take the Senate back over, game over, guys. I mean, really game over. So, it's one of those things where we need to get out there. We need to pressure our friends. We need to push and push and push and push. And this isn't just in California. This is across the country. We cannot let them win their 20 seats in the Senate. If they do, it's game over. They basically have a chance to completely eliminate Trump. Now, there is a backup person in there, the Vice President Pence. I'm not real sure if too many people actually trust Pence. It's kind of a hit or miss on that. So we're definitely going to have to be very, very careful on something like that. But, I think, having a watchdog group or, a CIA type group, something like that in this country ran by the citizens, I think it's going to definitely keep a lot more of the corruption down. And, we're not afraid to speak out. Now, you see the people that are in Congress and the Senate and the Judiciary Committee and stuff like that, and they'll speak out, but it's usually like shock and awe type stuff, like Schumer and Pelosi and Feinstein. But you're not getting, you're seeing the corruption that's there by this stuff, what's going on with Kavanagh. Okay. Feinstein had that letter weeks and probably months before this. This is like the 11th hour attack. And, they're pulling out all the stops to keep Kavanagh from getting elected or getting put in, getting confirmed, because it furthers and it pushes down the line Trump's agenda that much further. We haven't had anybody, the Supreme Court hasn't ruled on a Second Amendment case in quite a while. And that's the one thing that most Californians are really hoping for, is if he gets in there, there's a chance that a lot of the laws here in California get rolled back. But I'm going to say this. California hasn't abided by the Constitution in a very long time. And so even if he gets in, what's to say that they're going to follow the rulings that they make? They don't look at the Constitution like it's the law of the land. They look at it like it's a piece of paper that can be wadded up and tossed in the trash can. They have their own Constitution, but most states understand that federal laws supersede state laws. The problem with California is they basically become their own country. And in my opinion, the leadership of this state, they have committed treason in every aspect of that word. They've committed treason. They've gone against the will of the commander-in-chief of this country. It was duly elected by the citizens of this country, and they will not do anything. It's the resistance. They are up against him. Same thing with New York. Same thing with parts of Illinois, Oregon, parts of Washington. They are completely against this president. It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, it could be one of the biggest humanitarian things in the world, and they would still fight against it because it was his idea. So, that kind of goes to show you the mentality of the left. Now, here's the thing. We've sat back as conservatives for far too long to let this happen. So in effect, and I know not everyone's going to look, say, well, I didn't let it happen. Well, in a way we did, because we didn't stand up and we didn't, either take notice, or we were complacent. We didn't do a lot of things we should have done. I'm afraid that may happen in the next election if Trump makes it that far. Okay. If Trump gets to the next election and he's running for, whatever it is, what's the chances? What's the odds with the Democrats bringing in all the illegals, now allowing, prisoners in prison to vote? What's the chances that he's going to win again? We can't just sit back and thank God that he won. We have to get out and we have to continue to fight. And we need to start the fight preemptively. We can't sit back and just say, oh, God, glad he's in there, glad Hillary didn't win. Because if we don't do that, we're going to end up with the likes of either Elizabeth Warren, we're going to end up with either Bloomberg, which is probably the worst thing we could have. Elizabeth Warren, I don't think she'd last a week as a president. Cory Booker, Camel Toe Harris. For those who don't know who that is, it's Kamala Harris. That's the things we're looking at. So in the future, if Trump's not in, or if another conservative is not in there, and a true conservative is not in there, then we are seriously in dire need of something big time to happen in this country. Now, there's been a lot of talk about civil war and things like that. I don't see the civil war happening like a lot of other people do, mainly because for it to be a full-fledged civil war, now think about this. Okay, if it's going to be a full-fledged civil war, we're going to end up having to deal with the National Guard. If we get through them, it'll end up being the regular military, which I can't see that that's going to happen. We could, if it became a full-fledged civil war and fighting in the streets, things like that, we would probably be okay. But it depends on how far it goes and how long it lasts. That's the biggest issue. And urban warfare is a lot different than warfare and stuff like that in cities like Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, things like that, because it's kind of I don't know, you have a lot less over there. You have a lot less infrastructure really to deal with. So, and especially nowadays, half the crap over there's blown up anyway. So, it's just a whole different scenario. Plus, we got so many people wrapped up in certain areas. It'd be hard to really fish them out. And again, who's going to identify the targets? That's the hardest part. The easiest targets we got right now would be the ones out there that we could arrest and we could do, charge them with treason, things like that. I have no idea why Trump's not doing that yet. He has that option by executive order because it's pretty much proven that everybody in the state of California has gone against the Constitution, has gone against anything that Trump has ever said. And, they're going against federal law. The biggest thing that they've gone against is the immigration orders. They've kicked ICE out. They've done a whole bunch of stuff that goes completely against federal law. And that's enough right there to have them arrested. Trump threatened it once with the mayor of Oakland, and she's still walking the streets. So why isn't she in handcuffs? Why isn't she in orange? And obviously the leaders that are further up, like Hillary Clinton, Obama, things like that, why aren't they in orange jumpsuits? So I'm starting to kind of wonder if Trump is ever going to actually do it. And I know he wants an airtight case on everything. And maybe he's just waiting for the whole house of cards to crash. Who knows? The fact of the matter is, I think that the American public are getting pretty tired of waiting, and you're getting a lot more people that are ready to be willing to go out there and act and do something that most of us really don't want to do. But it's kind of coming down to, it's really coming down to kind of the 11th hour for us, because if Trump ends up losing the Senate, and there's a good chance he might, then, what's that going to look like, a year down the road or 2 years down the road? We're going to have a lot of crap going on that we didn't want to see. So keep that in mind. Now, with that said, there's some bills here in California that you really want to pay attention to. One of them is, let's see here. I got my homework here. One of them is Prop 65, I believe. Yes, it's Prop 65. Now, if anybody knows anything about law, basically, the way that the laws work here, whenever they get ready to pass them, okay, they can write up a bill and they can send it to committee. And if that committee turns them down, that bill sits for a while and somebody can come through and they can amend it. And then they can put it back through years later. So anytime anything is written up and has gone in front of a committee and it gets turned down, that law doesn't have to be rewritten. It can just be amended. Things can be added to it and just change the language of it a little bit. So with Prop 65, one of the things that it covers is the California Safe Water and Drinking Act. Actually, the California Safe Drinking Water and Toxic Enforcement Act. Okay. So this is one of the ways that they're trying to go against like ammo manufacturers, gun manufacturers, stuff like that. So with this bill, what they're trying to pass is they're trying to pass something that basically makes the manufacturers, the sellers, the distributors, the transporters, everything from the manufacturer all the way to the seller, they got to have something on there basically stating that this product is known in the state of California to cause cancer, or it can be in some way damaging to your life or damaging to somebody else. So basically what that's going to do is it's going to start costing, if it's like for a box of ammo, they're going to have this tag on it. And it's going to have to be in an easy spot for me and you to see it. And they're also going to have an MSDS sheet, which is it's something that I think OSHA or the EPA requires. And basically anything that's got chemicals that can be known to cause cancer or be damaging to a person's body or whatever, they have to have this sheet in the store that from anybody that's willing to sell it. Now, what that does, if you've ever had a business, you've ever sold things, you've ever marketed stuff, that's going to, especially manufacturers, that's going to be extremely expensive to do because, you're selling for each box. Now, some manufacturers may have to go through and they sell 200,000 boxes in a week, right? So for that $200,000 or 200,000 boxes, you're going to have one of those things put on each box. And for anybody that's manufacturing boxes, things like that, for them to stamp it, it takes a little bit to get the stamp made. It takes, it's just another change for people that cost them a lot more money. Now, in this state, there's been a lot of gun stores. There's been a lot of ranges. There's been a lot of other things that has closed down due to the laws that are going on in the state. I have a friend of mine, Adam Boaz. He was in a gun store down in San Diego. It's now been since shut down. It was one of the best premier gun shops in that area. Not only did my friend lose his employment, but the city of San Diego lost a place that they could go and buy firearms and buy other accessories, not just firearms, and also be trained on how to use ammo. One other thing that I had heard this weekend in talking to some friends was that one of the ranges that I can't remember which police department it was, but it was down in the LA area, had closed down due to something, and that the police officers haven't been able to go out there and shoot in 8 months. Okay, I don't know about you, but if a cop's going to be running around, and I'm for cops, okay, if a cop's going to be running around and carrying a weapon and is willing to use it, I hope that police officer has enough practice and has enough training, and there's not a big time lapse in between such. Because if you're going around carrying a gun for 8 months and you're a little rusty, I really don't want you aiming that thing anywhere around me. The thing is, the police departments, even the military, you have to have your training and you got to stay up on it, because if you don't, you do get rusty. Your reaction time changes. You got to stay current. It's like you have to work the muscles. You have to get the muscle memory going. What happens is if you don't have it, and I'll speak to you as far as like bowling or sports related stuff. If you're just, not practicing, you're not doing that kind of stuff, the muscle memory leaves your body. Your body forgets how to do certain things. So, that's one thing that, keep an eye on that. I mean, if they're closing down ranges, if they're closing down gun shops, things like that, not only are they affecting us, they're affecting the people who protect us. So, keep that in mind as well, because, this whole thing with this Prop 65 is, are they going to start coming out with green ammo? No, they're not going to do that. Are they going to start, making any kind of, recommendations for anything else? No. It's like the, they were pushing a thing. I'm trying to think of the name of it. Oh, microstamping. Okay. If you're not familiar with the guns, what microstamping is they want the gun manufacturers to put a distinguishing mark on the firing pin of every firearm. Like either a serial number or something on there that represents the company and the model of gun and something that matches up with a serial number. Now, a firing pin is very tiny. Okay, I'm going to hold up something, and my firing pins are even smaller than this. Okay, that's an audio jack. A firing pin is usually about a quarter of that size, right? It's just enough to hit the primer. So now if you think that you can get, I'm going to show a primer here real quick. Well, let me see. Let me do some digging. If you can force any company on to make something small enough to leave an impression on a primer on a shell, you got to be absolutely crazy. And in fact, the gun manufacturer said there's no way we can do it. Well, the judges in the case said, well, it doesn't matter if you can't do it. You need to do it because we're passing this. So, don't look, and I believe that this is guns in the future, the ones that you're going to buy new, but don't be surprised if California just says, well, if you can't do it, we won't allow you to have the guns here. That's what they're going to. They're doing everything that they can possibly do, take away the guns. They're not going to do it through regular confiscation. At least at first, they're not. They're going to go through and they're going to continue to keep pushing on people who buy them, manufacturers who sell them, and the gun stores who stock them. So, keep in mind, it's again, and it's something I mentioned this weekend. It's literally a death by 1,000 cuts. They found ways around things, and they're going to use everything that they can to their ability. Now, one of the things, like I said earlier, we need to start putting the teeth back in the sheepdog, right? We used to be the party of strength. We used to be the party of we're not taking that crap. And you can tell that by the presidents that have ever taken us to war, right? Reagan, he didn't take any crap off anybody. He's a conservative. I can't say, well, I guess I can say Bush Sr., but he had his other motives. We're the ones, we're kind of the adults of the group, right? We got to start acting like the adults. We got to start pressuring them. We got to start, and we got to put our feet on our throat and say, listen, we're done. We're not doing this anymore. And, whatever that takes, whatever that looks like, that's what we're going to have to start doing. Okay, I'm going to plug a real quick event that if you're out in the Denver area, it'd be really cool if you could go to. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to look it up. We have a September the 22nd and 23rd at the National Western Complex in Denver. It's a big, huge complex. I used to live out there, so I've been there to it. The website, if you want to go on and check it out, is http //selfrelianceexpo.com. Go on and check it out. You'll get a kind of chance to see what it's about. And it's basically on preparedness, survival, and sustainability. So it's a huge prepper expo. So, if you're out in that area, 3 up at Colorado, places like that, definitely get out there and check it out. Our main producer, Dee Cooper, will be out there. She's kind of the brainchild behind our shows. So get out there and check her out. She's written a book. I think she's probably going to be pushing it out there. It'd be a good chance for you guys to meet her and just say that you heard it here on the Eagle's Nest, and tell them you're a friend of mine and say howdy. All right. So You know, there's so many things that are going on in the country right now, and a lot of that, I'm going to kind of go over some more stuff that we kind of need to pay attention to, and this is nationally as well as state. So, one thing that I want you to look for is I want you to look for whenever these candidates start coming out. Okay, our elections are coming up in November, so you're going to start seeing ads, and these ads that are going to be popping up, you need to really start paying attention to the money trail. If you had ever got any ads in the mail, like this last year when we were voting for the primary, at least for the Republican side, I was getting stuff in the mail for Cox and for Travis Allen. The one thing I found fascinating was the Democrats were actually paying for those ads, and Vigalarosa from down in LA was paying for Travis Allen's ads up here, and Gavin Newsom was paying for John Cox's ads. So later on, whenever you start seeing the TV ads, and start paying attention to where they're at too, because each cable news station or each local news station has different amounts that they charge for ads. So what you want to do is you want to see where the money's going, and who's paying for those ads. So now, if you're getting, like, say, John Cox ads on TV and stuff like that, at the end of each thing, you'll always see a little thing, or maybe even in the middle of it, you'll see a thing at the bottom of your screen. It'll tell you who paid for the ad. So start paying attention to that. That'll kind of tell you who's throwing the money into the race. And those are the ones that you know, if we're going to do anything about or to, or, you know, stand up against, those are the people who's putting the money in. Those are your money people. Okay, so this is the thing that a lot of people kind of overlook. Most people that run for political office, minus Trump, minus Bloomberg, they don't have their own money. They have to raise money, and they have to do a lot of things to get that money to be able to run a successful campaign. Now, I know up here in the North Bay, Cox never came up here one time and campaigned that I ever seen. Allen was up here like constantly. I mean, he was nailing this area. He was nailing down south, everything else. Very popular candidate. And somehow John Cox ended up winning the vote. A lot of people think that he is, you know, and this is the governor's race. A lot of people think that, and this is not my opinion, this is just what I keep hearing. A lot of people think that John Cox is basically gives the perception for Newsom in the race to make it a legitimate race. And right now, if you look at the standings, I think he's 5 points down from Newsom. So they're making it look a lot closer than what it is. And everybody knows that the news organizations, especially in California, are in the Democrats' pockets. We have there's not a place in this state that isn't getting paid by Democratic operatives. It's a fact. So, you know, once the ads start coming out, start paying attention to who's paying for them. That's a huge key into who's fronting these people. So if you're starting to see things like by Soros or by his companies, you know, the money's coming from him. And, you know, if you start seeing John Cox, you know, ads and stuff on TV and they're being paid for by Newsom or by a Democratic committee, you probably know that, yeah, he may not be who he says he is or who, whatever. So just pay attention. That's all I'm trying to say. So watch the news ads. Okay, so next Monday, I think is that September 24th? I think so. September 24th is when they're going to be having the confirmation hearing on Kavanagh. It doesn't sound like what's happened is going to derail that, although there is a few senators that are now kind of balking, saying that they don't want to vote for him, or they're uncomfortable saying yes, basically. One is Lisa Murkowski. One is Jeff Flake, which is basically a flake anyway. And the other one is, I think, Bob Corker, I think is the other guy. So, you know, if you live in their areas or you have their phone numbers, please call their offices and push for them to say yes on Kavanaugh, because we need him in there. You know, if Trump loses the Senate, and, you know, they're going to continue to dig crap up on people. And I'm sure that with the list that's put out, I'm sure the Democrats are all over that, looking for any dirt on anybody that he's put up. So, you know, and I'm sure that there's been some feds, and I'm sure that there's been all kinds of other people that have been doing the dirty work and digging the crap on people too. So, you know, it ends up becoming a thing where we need to start coming up with our own watchdog organizations. We need to make sure that the people that are in there that we voted for, unfortunately, are doing what we ask them. They're doing what the will of the people. The will of the people is the huge part of this, folks. If they're not doing what's in our best interest, they don't need to be in there, period. And, Obama said it best a few years ago in one of his speeches that he gave. He basically said that the little people like us, the people that are not elected officials, we don't know shit. So that's how they look down on us. We have our elites, and they don't give a shit about us. Okay, they're going to do whatever the hell they want to do, and they don't care about any of the little people. They really don't. I mean, when was the last time that you talked to somebody that actually holds a position? When was the last time you seen them? You walked up, you shook their hand like a McDonald's or a Walmart or a Target or anything like that. You don't, because they have their own communities that they live in. They are well armed. They have security, and you're not going to see these people because, for one, they're scared to death of anybody like us, and two, they build up the stuff around their area so they don't have to go any further. They never go through an airport, so to speak, unless they're flying on private planes. So, they're not going through the same security checkpoints we're going through. They think that they're better than that. And I think it's about damn high time that we decide as American citizens of this country to make them understand that they are no better than us. They still put their shoes on. It may be $300 pairs of shoes, but they still put their shoes on like we do. I'm sure they got their drivers and their protection details and all this other stuff. I'm talking about people like Maxine Waters, Dianne Feinstein, and Nancy Pelosi, Xavier Becerra, which in my opinion should have never ever been able to run for that, because I don't think his credentials match his qualifications or the qualifications you're supposed to have. That's the thing is the Democrats have become the party of criminals. And I'm not saying that they're all criminals. There are some good people in the Democratic Party. But for the most part, the leadership in the Democratic Party, they're a bunch of some of the worst criminals in this country. And they need to definitely be held accountable. 1 second, folks. All right, I got about a little over 20 minutes left. I'm going to see if I can take some calls. We've had some technical difficulties here in the last couple of weeks, so I haven't been able to take any phone calls. So I'm going to put up a phone number, or Judy will put up a phone number for me, or Valerie, whoever's watching, 845-241-9930, and you have to dial a 1 to get to me. So, I want to know your thoughts on it. Like I said, I think that the Conservative Party needs to put the teeth back in the sheepdog. We need to start going to these people's offices. We need to start railing on them. We don't do that near enough. We have to act like we have something to lose. We really do. Because, obviously the Democratic Party, they have gone so far, and there's no recourse. There's nothing for us to do against them except for try and vote. And the problem is they rig elections. They get, they get whatever the hell they want. And the reason that they do that is because they're not scared of us anymore. They used to be scared of the gun owners. I mean, that's one of the original reasons for for fighting against the Second Amendment. And that's gone by the wayside. They don't care. And it's pretty obvious. They've got this whole Antifa thing, the BLM, everybody else. They have completely stopped being afraid of what we represent and afraid of what we do, because we haven't done anything. And, I don't know what the answer is. I hate to say it, but everybody can take a look in the mirror and ask themselves what they've done. Now, a lot of my friends that come on here, that may upset them. But, we go out and we do rallies. We go out and we support the Republican and conservative ideals. But, what have we done other than go to work every day, come home, pay our bills, and sit and complain to each other on Facebook? We're gonna have to step up our game a little bit if we're gonna, get as far ahead as the Democrats are. Yes, we have our guy in the White House. The problem is we don't really have anybody in the White House around him. we should literally be completely, for all the stuff that Trump has done, we should be so far ahead of the Democrats right now. It shouldn't be funny. There shouldn't even be a Democrat Party anymore. So, to be honest with you, I think both parties, the Republicans and Democrats, we know that we got moles, we got bad people on both sides. But we need to get people in there that are committed to making the country the way it should be. Going back to the Constitution, that thing is hanging behind me, and getting offended by certain things people post, until that starts changing. And I'm even saying it on our side, because somebody can have an opinion, and then next thing you know, someone on our side is complaining about it. You know what? I don't really care. I'm going to post what I feel on my posts. If you don't like it, you don't need to post. If you do, I may just delete the damn thing because I don't agree with you. That's the way that Facebook works. That's the way that social media works. That's the way my opinion works. I'll listen to it. I'll look at it, and I'll see if it matches up. And sometimes I could be wrong. But, we have to be big enough to admit that. Same thing on the other side. They have to be big enough to admit that too. It's been pretty obvious in the last few years that that's not going to happen on their side. So again, we're going to have to learn how to be the adults. We're going to have to start taking things over, and we're going to have to start finding ways to, whether it's lawsuits, whatever it is, finding sheriffs that are constitutional, going in and taking some of these people out, because we have proof. I mean, you can see the proof in the laws that they pass.